So if you're into customizing your phone, then there is a very good chance that you've at the very least heard of the app Tasker. And if you haven't, well, it is essentially the king of automation apps. Like if you've ever wanted your phone to do something automatically, then it's almost 100% that using one method or another, Tasker can make it happen. And I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you folks, whilst I've mentioned Tasker many times on my channel over the past several years, I've never personally really found much use for it. But as of a few months ago, I am officially a convert, and I'm actually now actively using a bunch of automations on my phone that I'd find real hard to do without moving forward. So as such, I thought it'd be fun to create a video showcasing 10 different amazing Tasker automations, and I'm also gonna walk you through how to get each and every one of them up and running on your own phones. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, before we get to the actual automations themselves, I just thought I'd mention up front that a lot of these modules are going to require various system permissions to be granted depending on the automation. And oftentimes, given how complex Tasker can sometimes be, you might not even know that a permission needs to be granted, and you're just left there wondering why an automation isn't working. So rather than trying to manually enable each and every permission as we go, the creators of Tasker have actually created a utility application called Tasker Permissions that you can download and then run on your computer of choice. And if your phone already has USB debugging enabled, then all you need to do is connect your phone to your computer, then open the Tasker Permissions utility, then allow this USB debugging option that pops up on your phone. Then we just need to hit this reload devices button. And once you've done that, you should now be able to see your phone. And we then need to first click this confirm button here, which will reconnect our phone in ADB Wi-Fi mode. And then we can just scroll down a bit and hit grant all permissions. We then just need to follow the prompts, and then from there, we actually want to bring up the Tasker app in our recents panel like this, then tap the app icon up here, then tap on app info. And if we come into this permissions menu, to make following along with this video as seamless as possible, we actually want to enable every single one of these permissions like so. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me enabling each and every one of these permissions. So through the magic of editing, I'm just going to snap my fingers like so, and it's done. And of course, you don't have to enable every single one of these permissions if you don't want to, but if you don't, just keep in mind that each Tasker automation will ask for specific permissions later on, which can sometimes get a little confusing. So I personally prefer just granting them all before I import anything. That way I shouldn't run into any issues. You may also want to check that you've granted Tasker accessibility access via your settings menu, and there might be a few other scenarios where an additional app or permission might be needed as we go along here, but I'll mention those when we get to them. Oh, and just one final thing, usually you will actually need to re-enable ADB Wi-Fi every time that you reboot your phone, which you normally need a computer for. However, stay tuned until the end of the video because I'm going to show you an amazing automation that'll actually mean you only ever need a computer once and then never again. All right, for our first Tasker automation, let's start simple with this one here called Flashlight Slider. And if you didn't already know, a lot of newly released phones these days that have launched with Android 13 or newer, they often support an under the hood feature that lets you adjust the intensity of your phone's flashlight. The only issue is most phone manufacturers actually forget to give us any user interfacing way to adjust the intensity. Well, we can actually create our own using this automation, and we just need to tap on import, then tap on yes, then yes again, then tap the tick icon, and that's it. Now, whenever I turn on my phone's torch, I'll see this floating slider that allows me to adjust its intensity. You can also adjust the position of the slider by opening this flashlight on-off event here. And if we tap here, we can then tap this show scene option, and we can then use these horizontal and vertical position sliders to reposition the slider. So I could, for example, change its vertical position to all the way down the bottom like this. Then I just need to come back, then back again, then tap this tick icon, and there we go. Now, anytime I enable my phone's flashlight, that slider appears down the bottom, which is just so much more one-handed friendly. Or how about this one called Important Notification Always on Display? As the name so helpfully implies, this is a really nifty automation whereby you can set it up so that even if your phone's always on display is disabled, it'll get turned on if you get a notification from a predetermined app. This app requires the upgraded version of a Tasker add-on app called Auto Notification, so just keep that in mind. But if you've got it, we then just need to tap on Import, then yes again, and then yes one more time. Then we need to tap on OK, and from there we want to select the app that we want to trigger our Always On display to turn on. So I'll select the beeper app here, then I'll tap the back arrow, and that's it. We'll now see a pop-up here that confirms that the monitoring feature is on. And now if we come into our phone settings, then into the display section, then into this lock screen section, as you can see, this always show time and info toggle is disabled. And when I lock my screen, you can indeed see that my always on display is off. But when I receive a message from the beeper app and then my display goes back to sleep, you can see that my always on display has indeed become activated. And this means if I'm used to my always on display being off most of the time, then there's a much higher chance that I'm gonna see and respond to that notification because now it's on. And then what's really cool is that if I go ahead and dismiss that notification, then turn off my display, boom, the always on display is immediately disabled just how it was before. And I reckon this is such a cool automation. Now, here's a nifty one called Battery Level Auto Text that will essentially message any contact of your choosing whenever your battery reaches a certain level. We just need to tap on Import, then yes, then we need to tap on OK and select our contact of choice. Then with that done, we can either customize what the message should say or just leave it as is. Then we can tap on OK, and then yes. By default, that automation will send that message whenever our battery reaches 10%. But if you want to customize this, then you can just open up the profile, then tap here, then tap this battery level option and change where it says 10 here to any number that you like. So for example, I'd actually suggest setting this to something very low, like 2%. But just to show you that it works, I'm gonna set it to my phone's current battery percentage, which is 93%. And with that done, we can just come back, tap the tick, and that's it. It'll send that low battery notification as instructed, and this could come in seriously handy. And then speaking of automated messaging, this next one called Automatic Car Message Reply is a very useful automation that you can use to send replies automatically whenever you're driving. Now, similar to that always on display automation, this one also utilizes that additional app called Auto Notification, and it took me forever to figure out that you do also need to upgrade to the full version for this particular automation to work. So again, just keep that in mind. But if you have the app and you've upgraded, then all we need to do is just tap on Import, then tap on yes, then yes again, and then yes yet again. Then you want to follow the prompts to select your car's Bluetooth, which I'm just going to select my earphones here to show you how it works. But from there, we'll now get this option to edit the auto reply text, or we can just leave it as is. Then we can hit OK, and then we'll get the option to select which apps we want to have the auto replies turned on for. So I'll just select the beeper messaging app for this example, then I'll hit back, and that's it. Now, whenever I'm connected to my selected Bluetooth system and I receive a message from anyone via the beeper app, it'll automatically send a reply back to them saying that I'm in the car and can't respond right now. Then another fantastic car-related automation is this one called Car Parking Notification. And if you're particularly prone to forgetting where you've parked your car, man, this Tasker automation is seriously gonna save your butt. We just need to tap on Import, then tap on Yes, then we need to tap OK and select our car's Bluetooth system. Although again, I'm just going to select my earphones here for the purposes of this demo. Then I'll tap on Yes to enable the profile immediately. Then check this out. As soon as my phone disconnects from my selected Bluetooth system, I'll immediately receive a notification from Tasker that says what time my car was parked. And from that notification, I can also add a note, perhaps with a description of where I was parked. So maybe I'll write in next to yellow road work sign as an example, and that will then be added to the notification. And I can even tap to take a photo of my parking location, making it even easier to remember where I parked. And then once I'm finished, whatever I was doing and I'm looking for my car, if the note and photo still aren't enough information to help me find it, I can also just tap this map button, which will show me the exact coordinates of where my car was parked. And I mean, how cool is that? All right, so those are 5 really cool automations that are not only some of the most universally useful automations that you'll come across, but they're also really, really easy to set up. But now I wanted to walk you through 5 more automations, and these are the ones that I'm actively using right now, depending on the phone in my pocket. Starting with this Google Doorbell one. You see, I love how on my Nest Smart Hub, whenever anyone rings my Google Home doorbell, it automatically opens the live feed from the doorbell camera. But on literally any other device, yes, including my Pixel tablet, when that doorbell rings, all you get is a simple notification, which you then have to tap to open. That is assuming that you even heard or saw the notification in the first place. Well, with this Tasker plugin set up and activated, anytime anyone rings my doorbell, a custom chime sound will play and the Google Home app will then automatically open, which is freaking amazing. Now, to get it to work, you will need that same plugin app that I mentioned earlier called Auto Notification. But if that's installed, we can then tap on Import, then tap on Yes, then Yes again. Then we just need to open up this Open Home task, and the only thing that we'll need to edit here is this music play option, where we'll need to tap this search icon to locate our own custom sound effect. Now we need to come back, then back again, and open up the profiles page and tap on this profile here. And we then need to tap on this auto notification intercept event behavior option here, then tap this pencil icon, then come down here and tap where it says title filter, then tap on notification title, write the word doorbell, then tap OK. Then come back all the way to Tasker, then tap the tick icon, and that should be it. If I now close the app and actually go and ring my doorbell to test that it works, there we go. It is indeed working beautifully. Then a really small tweak that I've been using over the past little while is this one called Remove Apps from Recent Tasks. And the reason that I use this is actually kind of laughable, but I love it nonetheless. You see, whenever I'm using a Pixel phone, I use an app called Wi-Fi QS to very easily enable this Wi-Fi toggle for my quick settings panel. And this actually lets me quickly turn on or off my phone's Wi-Fi just by tapping it, rather than having to use that janky internet toggle that Google provides by default. Except anytime I long press the toggle to go into the full internet settings page, perhaps to change Wi-Fi networks or whatever, you can kind of see that it actually uses some sort of full screen shortcut that's only visible for like a millisecond to then redirect to this internet settings page. But this means that whenever I then quickly swipe through my recents feed to go back to the previous app that I was using, I always see this blank page that keeps redirecting me back to the internet page over and over, and it's almost impossible to get out of the loop unless I swipe through my recent apps really quickly. But we can use this Remove Apps from Recent Tasks module to fix the issue. We just need to tap Import, then Yes, then enable the checkbox and tap Allow. Then we can leave this blank and hit OK, then Yes. And with that done, check this out. Now when I long press that Wi-Fi toggle to open up my internet settings and then swipe back through my recents, it's no longer there. Another really handy automation that I just recently set up and started using is this one called Sort Downloads. So as someone who is testing lots and lots of apps or custom home screen setups with backup files and different wallpapers and so forth, my downloads folder is often a real big mess. Now, not too long ago, I started using an app called File Navigator to try and help automatically organize my downloads folder. But the issue with that app is that it can't organize files if they're already downloaded. It'll only organize newly downloaded files, and it also doesn't cover some file formats, namely third-party launcher backup files, as well as some specific audio and APK file formats. So that's where this Tasker automation comes in. We just need to tap on Import, then tap on Yes, then Yes again, and that is it. And just to show you this in action, check out how messy my downloads folder currently is. It's filled with images, documents, various launcher backup files, you name it, it's probably there. But with the automation enabled, all I need to do is make one tiny modification to the downloads folder. So let's just go ahead and rename this image, and boom, not only will each folder be created automatically, but every single file has been moved into their respective folders as well. And it is just so much cleaner than before. Then for the past couple of months, I've actually been using the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and there's still not really an ideal solution to getting a home screen setup that looks good on both the cover and inner displays. So I've been experimenting with this automation called Fold Dual Launcher. And as the name implies, this automation actually allows you to set things up so that your default home screen launcher app will change automatically depending on if you're using the cover or inner display. To set it up, we just need to tap import, then yes again, and it should work pretty much straight out of the gate. But before I show you it in action, I'm just gonna reopen Tasker and then open this keep open profile. And then I wanna tap these apps here, and any selected apps on this list will actually be set to stay open when closing and opening the fold. And I've selected pretty much every app installed on my phone at the time of making this video by default. But if any apps that you use are not selected, then you'll need to go through this list and select them as well. But then once that's done, we can come back and tap this tick icon. And now when we come back home, you can see that we've got Hyperion Launcher set as the default launcher, which is working beautifully. And I'm just gonna open up Chrome here to show you this in action. But if I then open up the device, not only does Chrome stay open, but when I swipe to go back home, boom. Now the Pixel launcher is set as the default launcher, which is just so cool. And again, if I open up Chrome, then close the fold and swipe up, yet again, you can see that Chrome stays open. And when I swipe back home, Hyperion is now set as the default launcher. And just to show you this one more time without any app open, boom. It is virtually instantaneous, maybe with a slight flash of the previous home screen sometimes, but it is a much better option than the previous methods that used the Auto Tools app. And that's because thanks to the ADB permissions being used, each launcher is actually being set as the default launcher. And this means that they should work just as they should, as if we didn't have the automation turned on. If we use the Auto Tools method that I know a lot of people have used in the past, yes, it will switch the launchers for you, but it won't retain that fluidity that we get when using this automation. Okay then, last but certainly not least, we come to my holy grail of task automations, which is this one here called ADB Wi-Fi and Shizuku on boot. And as the name so helpfully implies, this automation will actually automatically enable both ADB Wi-Fi and Shizuku permissions whenever you reboot your phone, so long as you're on your selected Wi-Fi network. And you'll only need to access a computer once to grant ADB Wi-Fi permissions using the Tasker Permissions app, like what I showed you at the start of the video. After that, you won't ever need a computer again. Now, I do need to quickly give credit to a Reddit user who posted these incredibly helpful steps, and I'll link their post below. But before we import the automation, there's also a few apps that we've got to install. The first one is a terminal emulator app called Termux. However, the catch is that you can't install the Play Store version, as it's actually a limited version to get through Google's fairly strict publication policies. And so as such, you need to instead sideload the latest version from F-Droid, which I've left linked down in the description below. Just keep in mind, if you're running a fairly recent version of Android, then when you attempt to install the downloaded app, you'll actually see this warning here saying that the app is unsafe and that you've been blocked from installing it. But you just need to tap this more details option here and then tap install anyway, then enter your biometrics and the app will indeed install. Secondly, we need to install an app called Termux Tasker, which we can also download via F-Droid, again linked below. This one shouldn't show a warning, but if it does, just follow the previously mentioned steps. And then finally, we'll also need to install an app called Auto Input, which can be found on the Google Play Store, and we do need to upgrade to the Pro version for this to work, and we'll need to make sure that we've granted it accessibility access. From there, let's open up the automation and tap on Import. Then we'll tap yes, and if we see a pop-up asking you to allow USB debugging, make sure to do so, but I'm not seeing it because I granted it during the recent apps automation setup that we did recently. But from there, we can just tap on yes. Then we'll need to swipe Tasker into our recents, tap the icon up here, and then tap on App Info, then open up the permissions page, come down all the way to this Not Allowed section, and we're just gonna open up this Additional Permissions section, and then we need to tap on this Run Commands in Termux Environment option and change this to Allow. Now we need to open up the Termux app and type or paste in the code pkg space install space android-tools, then hit enter, and that'll then run through a fairly long process, which I'm going to speed up for the sake of this video. But once it asks you if you want to continue, you type Y and then hit enter, then let the process complete. And then we need to paste in another very long code, which along with the previous one, I'll also leave in the description. And with that pasted in, we'll hit enter, and there we go. Now we need to come into our settings, then down to system, then open up our developer options, and then come down and enable this wireless debugging option. You should then see a pop-up that very quickly flashes on screen, and that's because it gets automatically enabled. And now we need to open up the actual wireless debugging section. And I've found that in order for this to work, I have to first forget any paired devices down here. And so once I've done that, I just need to tap here where it says pair device with pairing code, and a prompt should appear and be automatically accepted. And you should now see a new paired device down here with a random string of characters followed by @localhost. And that's it. We should now be able to restart our phone, and if all has gone well, once it reboots and we unlock it, it should activate that A2B Wi-Fi automation automatically. And it might take like 30 seconds or so to complete the process, and sometimes it fails on the first attempt, but you just need to follow the prompts to restart the process. And in my experience, if the first attempt doesn't work, then the second time usually does the trick. And once the process successfully completes, not only will A2B Wi-Fi get enabled, but Shizuku should also be up and running automatically as well. And as mentioned, because we already enabled A2B Wi-Fi right back at the start of the video using our computer, we haven't had to connect our phone to a computer at all for this process to complete. And as someone who relies on Shizuku for at least 4 different apps on my phone, and given that a few of my task automations also require A2B Wi-Fi, this automation is a serious game changer. And so there you have it. Those are my favorite task automations right now. And guys, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, it was a monumental effort to put together with so much trial and error. It seriously nearly did my head in. So I'd very much appreciate a sub if you're willing. But now the attention turns to you. If you're a Tasker aficionado, then let everyone know what automations and tasks you love using down in the comments below. And who knows, maybe this video can become a sort of all-in-one hub for sharing our favorite Tasker automations. But that's it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you later.